Angela Lee was once celebrated as the face of Asian MMA, a prodigy who rose to fame at an age when most fighters were only beginning their careers. At 19, she became the youngest MMA world champion in history, her charm and charisma making her a global star. To the world, she seemed unstoppable, undefeated, radiant, and destined for greatness. But behind the spotlight, Angela was fighting a battle that few could see. She was born in Vancouver, raised in Hawaii, and molded by her parents, Ken and Jules Lee, both skilled martial artists. From the time she could walk, martial arts was her language. By 6 years old, training had already consumed her childhood. Her days were filled with sparring, drills, and mental conditioning. Vacations meant tournaments, birthdays meant new belts, and family dinners revolved around fight strategy. For Angela, martial arts was not just a sport, it was a family legacy. Alongside her siblings Christian and Victoria, she was expected to carry that torch. But as the eldest, the heaviest burden rested on her shoulders. Her life became a rigid cycle of training, dieting, and competition. While other teenagers went to parties or enjoyed carefree moments, Angela was pushing herself through grueling schedules, preparing to be flawless inside the cage. For her family, for her promoters, for her fans, failure was not an option. By the time she signed with One Championship, Asia's biggest MMA organization, she was perfectly marketable. Young, skilled, and carrying both Asian and Western heritage that appealed to a wide audience. When she defeated Mai Yamaguchi in 2016 to become the atomweight champion, the world saw her as the future of MMA. She was praised as a symbol of discipline and success, her face plastered across posters, her interviews celebrated as proof of her bright spirit. But the cracks were already forming. Between defending her title, recovering from injuries, fulfilling media demands, and managing her personal life, Angela was suffocating under the weight of expectation. The public saw an invincible champion, but inside she felt like she was losing herself. The constant push to perform, the pressure to smile for cameras, the fear of failure. It all built up quietly. Champions aren't supposed to show weakness, and so she hid her struggles even from those closest to her. In November 2017, the hidden pain nearly claimed her life. On a quiet morning in Hawaii, Angela's car crashed and flipped multiple times. It was reported as an accident, a result of exhaustion from training. The fight she was preparing for was canceled, and after a period of recovery, she returned to competition. For years, the world believed it was just another example of her resilience. But the truth was much darker. In 2023, Angela revealed that the crash was not an accident. It was a suicide attempt. She had driven that morning intending to end her life, overwhelmed by the crushing pressure of her career and the feeling of being trapped in an identity she no longer recognized. She survived, but the pain didn't disappear. For years after the crash, she continued to fight and carry the image of a champion. But she lived with the secret of what really happened. It wasn't until September 2023, in a letter published in the Players' Tribune, that she finally shared her truth. Addressing her younger sister Victoria, who had tragically passed away in 2022, Angela confessed openly. In 2017, she had tried to take her own life. Her words shook the MMA world, stripping away the illusion of perfection that fans had built around her. For the first time, fighters and fans alike saw the heavy mental toll hidden beneath the glory of combat sports. Angela's revelation broke barriers. In MMA, fighters are taught to push through pain, to never complain, to never show weakness. Mental health struggles are dismissed as excuses. But Angela's honesty forced a conversation that the sport had long ignored. Other fighters began sharing their own struggles. Retired champions admitted they too had faced depression and burnout. Angela turned her pain into purpose by creating Fight Story, a nonprofit organization aimed at giving athletes a safe space to speak openly about mental health. It became her way of healing and also a way of honoring Victoria, who had faced similar pressures but never found a way out. Her sister's death was a wound that would never fully heal. Victoria, at only 18, was also a rising star in MMA, undefeated and full of promise. But she too carried the same expectations and silence that nearly destroyed Angela. When Victoria passed, Angela's grief was overwhelming. She questioned whether her own silence in the past had cost her sister's life. That loss gave her the strength to speak up, to tell the world what she had hidden for so long. In September 2023, during One Championship's Fight Night 14, Angela entered the cage one final time. But there was no opponent waiting. She wasn't there to fight. She was there to let go. In front of a silent arena, she placed her championship belt on the canvas. That belt had once defined her entire identity. But now it was just a symbol of a life that nearly destroyed her. With a trembling voice, she spoke about her struggles, her sister, and her decision to finally step away. Her retirement was not a defeat. It was a victory of a different kind. It was the moment she reclaimed her life, her identity, and her humanity. Angela Lee will always be remembered as the youngest MMA world champion, a fighter who inspired millions with her talent. But her greatest legacy is not inside the cage. It lives in the lives she has touched by speaking the truth, in the fighters she has encouraged to seek help, and in the cultural shift she sparked in a sport that often values silence over honesty. She showed that true strength is not just about throwing punches or enduring pain. It's about the courage to be vulnerable, to choose life when everything feels unbearable, and to turn suffering into hope for others. Angela's story is not simply about triumph or tragedy. It is about resilience, honesty, and the fight to break free from impossible expectations. She walked away from the cage not because she was defeated, but because she was finally strong enough to live for herself.